Namaskar. Welcome in this live interactive teleconference of MBA in Healthcare and Hospital Management program. Today we are going to discuss about the organizational behavior. As a student of management, you must be aware how important the organizational behavior is, particularly when you are working in a healthcare institutions. To discuss this organizational behavior, we have our expert, Dr. Bhupinder Chaudhury. Welcome you, sir. Dr. Bhupinder is head of the Department of Hospital Administration from Jamia Millia Islamia, and he will discuss about this organizational behavior, particularly in context of the healthcare institutions. And as you know, the complexity of the healthcare institutions, and we have different level of people are working from the senior most like experts who is super specialist to a lower most cleaner and driver, and in mid level we have many different kind of people also. So as an organization, how particularly it must behave to achieve the goal of a healthcare institutions. The basic primary objective of the healthcare institution is to provide support to the people. Particularly if you talk about the hospital, then it is the giving relief of the people at whatever condition they are. So, sir, you may please start the topic discussions, and in between, if anyone of having any kind of questions, kindly you can ask by telephone. The number are displayed on your screen. Sir, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for inviting me. We will be talking about the concept of organizational behavior with the special focus on healthcare industry. So, the literal meaning of organizational behavior is it's a combination of two words: how an individual behaves in an organization. It looks very simple. But see, it's a combination of different branches, like it takes into account the best practices of psychology, anthropology, sociology, even other human resource management techniques also. So the first question which could come to anyone's mind is how significant it is. Why should we study it separately? I mean, what difference does it make? So while talking about the definition of organizational behavior, according to one of the researchers, it is the study of how individuals and groups acts within organization, right? So how one person or a group of persons behaves or acts, or what kind of attitude they show in the organization. The basic focus of this is to understand, predict, and influence the human behavior. See, in any kind of organization, let us talk about healthcare organization. The ultimate goal of organization, whether it is a public entity or a private organization or not-for-profit organization or an NGO or working in XYZ sector, the ultimate aim of any organization is to make profit, whether in financial terms or in improvement of life. Like healthcare organizations, the public organization don't aim at earning the financial profit, but they aim at improving the lifestyle and life of individuals. So for that, if the organization is committed to improve the quality of life, first of all, the employees or the stakeholders who are providing that care should be satisfied in the organization. And how that can be ensured? By applying the techniques of organizational behavior. There are two perspectives of looking at organizational behavior. One is the institutional perspective, what the institution believes, and second is the open systems perspective. So these are very interesting perspectives, looking at the same issue from different point of views. The open system perspective says that organizations are dynamic entities that interact with the environment. See, it's not the organization is not operating in vacuum. Right? It has to interact with different factors. It can be socio-economic, cultural, political, or demographic factors. So the key elements are like in any kind of process, we have input, process, and output. So in this case, the input is the resource, like human resource, the information, technology. In short, we can say that man, material, money, these are the resources. And what is the process? The activities, the core activities which the organization is supposed to undertake. Like a healthcare organization or a hospital is supposed to undertake the process of providing clinical care or providing rehabilitative care, or to improve the quality of life, or to alleviate the pain and suffering of the people. And what is the output? The end result which you achieve, which in healthcare organization is either the patient gets relieved from the pain, or the patient gets a new chance to life, or limb or life of the person is saved. And what are the significant characteristics of this system? It works on a continuous feedback loops. Each and every step gives feedback to improve the previous step, right? Like we have seen in hospitality sector, when you consume any service of any sector, like you fly with any airline, you go to any restaurant to have food, you go to any hospital, especially corporate hospital, while at the time the service ends, they ask you to provide a feedback that how did we perform. Now, how is it important? Why should the organization be worried when you are moving from the organization? It is known as a kind of exit interview. Like when a patient is discharged from the hospital, they are asked to provide feedback that what was your experience with our hospital. The point of feedback is, if you take the feedback, the analysis of feedback should be channeled back into the system to improve the system. Suppose somebody says that your clinicians or your support staff is not behaving properly and we feel dissatisfied. So that feedback has to be analyzed and channeled back into the system so that you can communicate with your staff members, clinicians, and against whosoever the clients are having dissatisfaction, that see, if you have any issue, if you have a problem with the organization or any other issue, you should talk to us. It should not reflect bad on our organization's part. And the organization should be adaptable to external changes. See, again, I am telling you that no organization can work in vacuum. You have to interact with lot of other factors. We can see examples of Kodak, Nokia, X-ray, the X-rays earlier, which we used to have the filmed X-rays. Now we have digital X-rays. The Kodak, around 20 years back, it was a very famous institute, famous organization. Nobody could imagine clicking a photograph without, recalling the name of Kodak. But now this generation doesn't even know what the word Kodak means, the company Kodak means. The second is institutional perspective. Organizations are shaped by societal norms, values, regulations, and traditions. See, organization X working in a particular continent, particular country, district, or place or village cannot replicate the same model to other organization working in a geographically or culturally different organization. For example, our country, we are a country of more than 1.5 billion people. We have diversity in geographical conditions, environmental, climatic conditions, cultural conditions, languages are different. So any model which is successful in northern part of the country may not be so successful in southern part or northeastern part.
I think one of the example is like recently Government of India has opened many AIMS. Keeping in mind of the AIMS is the best in the medical institute in the country. But there are many AIMS, even after opening so many AIMS, few of them are successful, but few of them are not successful. Perhaps this is the reason.
Exactly. See, any institute working in the national capital has an advantage of getting a lot of resources, financial wise also. They can, the drain, influx of the best brains in the country would come to AIMS Delhi, right? Which was the first AIMS which started in the country, I think around seven decades back.
Yeah, around 56,
yes.
1956.
So if you want to replicate the same model, you have to customize the model according to the local requirements. Yeah. Any institute working in national capital may not work in a remote part of the country. And what are the factors which influence the institutional perspective? There can be legal requirements which are different in one part of the country or one part of the same state. One state may announce that this thing is legal. Another state may make it totally illegal. Like for example, when we talk about substance abuse, many states in India have liquor ban, right? And most of the states don't have. So just an example to quote. Cultural expectations. Some states have the population which is in which the cultural values are so heavily ingrained even with the best practices, you cannot, I mean, it's not even right on the government's part to ask the people that, you just refrain from following your culture or don't follow this belief. So you have to customize your organization's policy along with the cultural expectation of your clients. Ethical standards, something which may seem ethical in one part of a state or a country or a continent may seem to be unethical. Then significance of the organization emphasizes legitimacy and social responsibility. These days everybody talks about corporate social responsibility. Many big corporates have this moral and legal ethical responsibility also, that they have an obligation to give it back to the society. So that is why we have seen big corporates like Tata, Reliance have opened up schools, hospitals, cancer hospitals, and other, they are investing a lot of resources in philanthropic activities. So in line with this, there are three parts of this issue: society, environment, and organization. All these things are interrelated. Organization cannot remain aloof from the society or the environment. So the term is interdependence. Organization and society are mutually influential. Organization influences society and society influences the organization. Decisions within an organization can impact the broader environment and vice versa. We have historically seen many organizations, they have changed the behavior of people or how they see a problem or how they see a solution. The environments which affect organization, these can be economic environments, technology, social and cultural, political and legal. Like economic can be market conditions, the country or the state which is well off to do financially has different kind of issues, and the states which have less resources or which are not financially so well off, they may have different kind of problems. So organization working in, for example, we say that certain countries are developed countries. So we see the organization model in those countries is different as compared to the so-called third world or developing countries.
Yeah, I think, sir, it is basically, as you said, it is the interrelated everything. So health is not working in isolations, or
Absolutely.
any organization is not working in isolation. So the behavioral of the societal behavior is much reflected. For example, if we see as a means worldwide, German people are very punctual, Japanese people are very punctual, but perhaps Indian point of view, we are not that kind of punctual. So we normally don't reach on time on our work or in a meeting. This is what even Brazilian also having the same kind of reputations. But particularly these German people and Japanese people, they are very much. So their organizations, their institutions, and their society also maybe same kind of reflections.
Absolutely.
And it may also reflect the kind of other means, as you said, feedback mechanism. So we have a different kind of environment, particularly in a government institution or government hospital. We are having a different kind of experience in a private or corporate hospitals, and the pattern of behavior, the same man, when he moves from government to private, he's totally, you can transform into the new environment. And but the same doctor, when he will be posted into the government clinic, because many states, there are many states who is allowing private practice. So many doctors are playing both the role. They are also working in a government hospital as well as in a private hospital. So they transform themselves as per
according to the demand.
As per the demand, yeah.
Yeah, like you very correctly you said that certain countries like Japan, whenever we talk about punctuality and discipline, the first country comes to our mind is Japan. So a patient coming to a Japanese hospital or visiting a Japanese doctor cannot tolerate even a delay of 1 minute.
Yeah.
But on the contrary, if any patient comes to an Indian hospital, if the doctor is late by a few minutes due to any reason, still the patient says that okay, I mean it's not a big deal. So economic, technological, socio-cultural and political and legal issues affect the organization. The last one is extremely significant, that the political and legal issues like government policies, regulations and legal obligations. Like there is a famous saying that people get the system they deserve, or people get the system which they expect or they anticipate, right? So the kind of political scenario a country or a state has, that has lot of reflection on the kind of organizations, the organization, how they would develop. In the subsequent slides, I have talked about autocratic rules. Like when we talk about autocracy, That is contrary to democracy. So if the government system is autocratic, it means that, it's a straight chain of command, that whatever the boss says, the employees have to obey it anyhow. So the organization and the employees, they shape their behavior accordingly. And sometimes it is good, sometimes it is not good. And then legal obligations. Whatever law of the land says, any organization is bound to follow. So you have to train your employees, you have to bring in sync with the legal obligations. Strategic adaptation, organization must monitor environmental changes. Proactive adaptation lead to sustained success. Like I gave the example of Kodak and Nokia. So the companies which have moved along with the times, they have always survived. But we have seen some of the very successful companies which were like benchmark, they had gold standards in that sector, are nowhere to be seen because they failed to realize that what the client wants. Okay, social processes as sources of common behavior. There are certain social processes like, let us talk whenever any employee interacts with his peers or subordinates or the superiors. So key social processes can be contact, how you come in contact with your peers or the persons with whom you are working. Interaction between individuals lead to exchange of ideas and values, and most of the time in the organization which values its employees, these are positive. Then adjustment and accommodation, because human beings cannot, ideally there should be conflict even with the best of friends. So accordingly you can modify your behavior so that the friction can be reduced and cooperation can be enhanced. Why there are adjustment problem in certain organizations? Because either you suppress the genuine feedback or you don't allow people to express their grievances. Then conflict and competition, natural outcomes of differing goals can drive innovation if managed well. See, most of the path-breaking innovations globally has been from the ideas which were earlier refuted by people. You talk about telephone, you talk about television, you talk about the mobile phones. People earlier used to ridicule that, no, this thing cannot work. If the organizations would have thought in same way, that if the boss says that this cannot work, then this should not work. Then we wouldn't have seen television, we wouldn't have seen telephones or mobile phones. Cooperation, everybody collectively works towards common objectives. See, the organization wants to make profit, they want to serve, they want to fulfill their goals and philosophy. So then your employees have to be synchronized with your objectives. Assimilation and acculturation, integrating different cultures within the organization. These days we talk about that the world is a global village. Today you are working in India, tomorrow you may be working in some other part of the country, or maybe after few months or few years you may be working in a different continent. So would you like to work in an organization which doesn't respect your culture? I believe the answer would be no. So if you want to attract talent from different cultures, different part of the geographical location, you have to have assimilation of different culture. You have to have acceptance, adaptability. Like we say that India follows the policy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is our home. Socialization, process by which individuals learn and adopt organizational norms and values. So it is not only important to understand what the employee or what the what the staff members feel or how they behave. It is also important that they should also understand that how we are supposed to behave in this organization. And then talking about the process levels, there are three types of processes in any organization. One is micro, second is meso, and third is macro. So micro means at the lowest level, at the individual level. So the factors which affects the behavior or attitude of any individual, these are personality of an individual, the perceptions, attitudes, motivating factors, and how these factors are relevant to the success of organization. These affects job performance and satisfaction. You perceive something as negative to you, so in that case you will be dissatisfied from your job. Meso level is group level, the group or the department with which the employee is interacting. Let us talk about hospital. There are different departments, different like clinical departments or non-clinical departments or paraclinical departments. So micro level is the individual, the doctor, nurse, paramedical staff member or a hospital administrator. Meso level is the group of administrators, group of nurses, group of clinicians, or the people working in same department within the organization. the main factors are team dynamics, how the team works, communication patterns, leadership styles. Like we have the bureaucracy, and at the ministerial level also, we have different ministries under the umbrella of Government of India. How it is relevant? It influences collaboration and conflicts resolution. Till the time individual is working in his or her own capacity individually, there is no conflict, right? But when you are supposed to work with more than two persons, there are bound to be certain conflicts. Finally, at the macro level, at the organization and societal level, there are factors like organizational structure, their philosophy, their culture, their policies. Like we have heard people saying that I love my organization, I love my employer because the environment is very conducive. They have a very good culture. Like you gave an example of Japanese companies or the Japanese culture. We have seen many hospitals, Japanese hospitals or the biomedical equipment companies which are working in India. The employees, the Indian employees who are working in Japanese companies are more satisfied as compared to their counterparts who are working in Indian companies. Probably it talks a lot about the Japanese culture. Then societal norms, economic systems and legal framework. At a larger level, the organization has to see that whether or not they are violating any societal norms or legal framework. That is not the responsibility of an individual. But when you talk about the organization as a whole, the organization has to see that what are the policies which are in line with the the law of the land. It determines overall organizational effectiveness and reputation. Understanding interactions among all levels lead to comprehensive organizational behavior strategies. So when you understand all the three levels, micro, meso and macro, and you make the policies according to the different levels, your organization is bound to be very successful. Historically, we see that in India, post-liberalization, economic liberalization, which occurred post-1991, we all know that globalization and liberalization was started formally in India during that era. So there was a shift from a closed economy to market-driven policies, increased foreign investment and competition. Not only there was foreign investment attracted in the country, but along with that, foreign talent was also attracted in the country. Lot of multinational companies which were earlier not allowed to operate in our country, they came after 1991. Lot of their employees from different parts of the world came to India. Lot of Indian employees went to their countries. So there was a mix of culture, which was in fact good. Whatever we see as the best part in the Indian corporates or in different sectors of the country, the credit goes to the post-liberalization era when we opened our doors to the world. Technological advancements, like as we all know that India is known as software hub of the world. Growth of the IT and software sector was another factor which led to a lot of changes in organizational behavior. Adoption of new technologies across sectors, because technology sees no boundaries. Today we can communicate with anybody sitting on any part of this planet through a mobile phone. So there are no boundaries, no barriers. Cultural transformation, blending of traditional values with modern practices, rise of a youthful workforce with new aspirations. We have a lot of expectations from the new generation, which is presently known as the Gen Z. Rise of a youthful workforce, and coincidentally, we are in the phase of demographic dividend. We have the maximum workforce in the productive age group, and that is an advantage. That is one of the reasons why our government is focusing on policies to encash the benefit of this demographic dividend, which will last for probably 3 more decades.
I think, sir, here the cultural component is invisibly affecting very much into any organizations or in any individual also, because at the end of the day, that person is from the society. For example, in other way, I try to understand, if there is a 25% of the population of the society are having high blood pressure, and out of that society only the doctors are coming out. So among the doctors also, maybe not 25%, even 20% or 22% doctors may be hypertensive.
Absolutely.
So any cultural value, the human value culture is carrying out. In this today's this capitalistic market, it is very difficult to value it. But still, any society or any means community who is carrying this kind of human value in that particular geographical area managed by those kind of people, the organizational behavior would be much more in a different shape.
Absolutely. Like the other day, I was reading about, I don't know which European country, that a lot of people use bicycles to go to their offices, and they feel pride while using public transport. On the other hand, if we talk about our system, that if you are more influential, if you have more money, you would not like to travel in public transport and leave aside the bicycles. So the individual decides what kind of society, and the society decides what kind of individual you want to become. So both these things are interrelated. You cannot separate one thing. You cannot separate individual from the society, and you cannot separate society from the individual.
Yeah, I think it is both the way, means vice
Yes.
versa kind of things.
So globalization was one of the factors in which Indian companies expanded internationally, and influence of global best practices. Lot of companies, lot of accreditation standards in Indian healthcare industries have been adopted from other countries, but they have been Indianized. Like if we talk about Indian hospital, now there are more than 50 hospitals in the country which have been accredited with the global standards of JCI, Joint Commission International. But these standards had to be Indianized before getting adopted in the country. Workforce dynamics, emphasis on diversity and inclusion. Everybody talks about diversity in workforce, not only gender, but also ethnicity, language, culture. All the organizations are open to hire talent from different parts of the globe. Changing employer-employee relationships. I'll talk about this point specifically in the subsequent slide. Implication for organizational behavior, need for adaptive leadership and management style. See, you cannot have a generic solution to all the problems. Suppose one IT company is working efficiently on one model, the same cannot be applied to a healthcare industry, or the same cannot be applied to different branch of the same country working in a different location. One hospital is successful in one part of the country, but it fails to take off in other part of the country due to not following the cultural sensitivity. Embracing innovation and continuous learning is the key. The organizations which fail to understand the innovation, those who think that we will decide how the clients, what the client should demand, those organizations don't last long. Now, what are the implications of these factors on OB? One is adaptability and flexibility. You have to be flexible. If you want to sustain, if you want to survive, you either be flexible or perish. Then diversity and inclusion, you cannot, in certain sector, you can say that diversity is not required, probably very few sectors, it can be counted on fingertips. But in most of the sectors, especially healthcare sectors, we need diversity. We need different workforce from different culture, different languages. Like for example, in India, if you go to any part of the country, you will see the nursing staff from southern part of the country, especially Kerala. You would see the nurses who are coming from Kerala. They are well accepted in all hospitals, whether it is in northeast or eastern part of the country or northern part of the countries. And to take care of their nursing workforce, the hospitals have also customized their policies. They celebrate the festivals being celebrated in their hometown so that they don't feel, out of the place. They give them holidays on their festivals, which are not celebrated in suppose North India, but they are celebrated in Kerala. So this is how the organization attracts diverse workforce, and that could be the reason for your success. Then leadership challenges are there. Leaders must navigate complexity and uncertainty. You have to foresee that what problems can occur. See, if you are having diverse workforce, people with different culture, language, it's not all goody-goody that everything will be okay. There would be conflicts on the basis of beliefs, religion, eating habits, languages, culture, but a good leader is who manages all this in spite of all these complexities. And that shows the importance of transformational leadership along with the times. Then employee engagement, engaged employees are more productive and loyal. The employee should not feel that, I feel out of the place, the organization doesn't value, so why should I contribute? These strategies include recognition programs and career development opportunities. Like when we rate the biggest motivators for human beings, it's not always money. It's the main thing is recognition. How well you are recognized in the organization. How well the organization respects your contribution to their success. Then ethics and CSR, we already talked about this. I have taken few excerpts from two successful companies in India. One is Tata and second is Infosys. The leading Indian corporations, they face challenges due to market competition and technological changes. Around 3 decades back, if we go, when the Infosys was just taking off and Tata was already an established brand. But whenever they wanted to diversify, they faced challenges in different competition, different markets. So what action they did take? Adopted open system approach to improve environmental scanning. For example, any Tata entity which is working in Delhi is working on a different model, but the same company, same product they are launching in suppose West Bengal or other part of the country, they have a different altogether marketing strategy. Encourage social processes like teamwork and innovation. They invested in employee training and development. Like I still recall that this training center of Infosys was well known. They have a training center in southern part of the country that they train their employees like anything, and that model has been adopted by a lot of IT companies which entered in the market later on. What were the results? Enhanced adaptability and competitiveness. We still remember, even today Tata is relevant as it was relevant 7 decades back. Improved financial performance and market share. Every year they are improving. Increased employee satisfaction and retention. What lessons do we learn? Proactive strategies are critical for success. You should not be reactive, especially while dealing with human beings. It's not that when the problem comes, then you will start thinking about the solutions. You have to be proactive. Then investing in people leads to sustainable growth. It's not the machines, it's not the physical infrastructure which makes any organization successful. It is the human resource which makes any organization successful. You may bring the best possible technology in your hospital. You may have the most expensive technology and machine in your hospital. But if your employees are not satisfied, your technicians to run the machine are not satisfied, your hospital, I'm sorry to say, will not be able to make any mark. So the conclusion of this section is organizational behavior is integral to understand and improve how organization functions. The interplay between organization and their environment necessitates a holistic approach. From micro to macro, we have to understand what are the demands of different levels, from individual to group to the organization level. Organizations in India are undergoing significant changes requiring adaptive OB practices. So whatever practice, like we say that a lot of good practices have been followed by banking sector or IT sector or healthcare sector in India, which were earlier not acceptable in our system. Organizations that understand and invest in their people and processes are better equipped to thrive in a complex and changing world. So next section is approaches to organizational behavior. Organizations are as complex and unique as the people within them. Like I said a few seconds back that it is the workforce which makes your organization, not the machines, not the physical infrastructure. So organization can be as complex, as simple or as unique as the people within them. Another meaning of organizational behavior, it is an interdisciplinary field which draws its inferences from psychology, sociology, anthropology, healthcare and many more other sectors. It focuses on behavior at individual, group and organization level, like we have seen the 3 levels. There are different approaches to OB. One is the HR approach. Human resource management is very closely associated to organizational behavior. And sometimes these sectors overlap with each other. The HR approach emphasizes employee growth and development. That if the organization want to grow, the employee has to grow along with it. Second one is the contingency approach, which says that there is no one solution to all the problems. The solution depends on the situation. It is case to case basis. The systems approach says that it views the organization as a system of interrelated parts. It is just like a big machine, like an aeroplane or the engine of a train engine. The engine works as a whole. Everybody sees the aircraft taking off, but it is a combination of lot of different small parts which together makes the system work successfully. And the last one, which is accepted by most of the organizations, productivity approach, which focuses on achieving goals efficiently. Whatever is your goal, you want to be a successful cardiothoracic organization in the country, you want to be a good public health organization, you want to be known as a good philanthropic organization. It has to your organizational behavior approach has to focus on this. Different components of organizational behavior like individuals, groups and structures we have already talked about. Now there are 5 significant models about organizational behavior, like how different organizations treat their employees in a different way. First one is autocratic, which is not preferred in most of the organization, but certain systems, certain countries, certain organizations believe that this is the best model. We'll talk about each one of them in detail. Second is custodial, then supportive, then collegial and system model. Systems view of OB, we have seen that this treats organization as an open system, like how adaptable is the organization in response to the external stimuli. Okay. See, I'll give you an example of 2 organizations. One is an established IT companies which hires more than 10,000 employees. Second is a grocery shop across your society. Both the organizations are being profitable. They are earning sufficient amount of profit. They are employing sufficient number of people. Let us say the grocery shop employs 10 persons, but they don't have marked hierarchy that the owner of the shop is the CEO, or this is the managing director, or this is the salesperson, this is the marketing head, this is the billing executive. But the system still works flawlessly. They are also earning profit. On the contrary, any healthcare organization or IT company, they have a very formal system. Like there is a proper hierarchy, there is a board of directors, there are CEOs, managing directors, then there are department heads, then there are executives, and then there are different people assigned for different jobs. So I'm not saying that any one of the organization is doing anything wrong. Whatever works for your organization, it should work for you to make you profitable. So the formal organization is the official structured arrangement of roles and responsibilities. Certain key components like hierarchy is important. Levels of authority and responsibility. You should know who is your boss, and you should also know to whom you are the boss. Division of work, specialization of task. You have to departmentalize, especially in healthcare. Each and every department, whether it is clinical, non-clinical or paraclinical, they have different roles and responsibilities. But together they work for the welfare of society. Then there are certain rules and procedures in formal organization which should be followed. Guidelines which governs the operation, and sometimes these guidelines are legally bound. You are legally bound to follow these guidelines. Then the communication channel which forms the basis of organizational behavior. Formal pathways for information flow. The information can be simple orders, like the top management wants to give some information to all the employees, or it can be a grievance handling mechanism. Any person down the chain who is at the lowest rung of the organization wants his grievance to be heard by the top management. There has to be two-way communication, and it should be transparent. What is the purpose? What is the benefit? It ensures order and predictability. The formal organization follows a typical order. There are standard operating procedures, and it is predictable. Everybody knows that if this action is taken, these are the consequences. All actions have consequences, but in a formal organization, the consequences are very much evident and they are very much documented. And it also facilitates coordination and control. The models which I talked about earlier on the previous slide, there are 5 models which are being followed. 1 or 2 models. I mean, any organization can follow more than one model also. One is autocratic model. Many people call it as dictatorship model, but that is not the exact definition of autocratic model. The main features: managerial authority is absolute, and most of the time the authority is unquestionable. Employees are expected to obey orders religiously. What are the pros and cons? Pros are, it helps in quick decision making, because the top management or the boss, supreme boss, has taken the decision and everybody just has to follow. But what are the downsides? It may lead to low morale. People are working, they are following your orders, but they are not satisfied and they are looking for an excuse to switch over, or they may not be so efficient and productive. Second is custodial model. I personally believe that this model applies best to the public organization or government organization in our country. The main focus is on providing economic security to the employees. Employee dependence is high on the organization. What are the pros and cons? It reduces insecurity of job, but fosters passive cooperation. You are just working for the sake of working. I mean, there are no advantages or there are no incentives to work more, and there are no downsides or no penalties to work less.
Most of our government hospitals are working on this model. So this may be the one of the reason we need to look into this kind of model, because some point of time we also need a first decision making process, and in the same time we also want to retain the employee, and in the same time we also want him to well motivated so that he can work efficiently.
Absolutely.
For the as per the objective of the institution.
Like you rightly said, most of the government hospital, but if you see in case of any disaster, the model entirely changes. It becomes autocratic. And even in the standard operating procedures of disaster manual also says that if a disaster situation is officially announced, then this will be the chain of command, and there is no questioning of authority. Absolute rights.
Yeah, we have witnessing it during the time of the
during COVID times. Yes,
COVID
absolutely.
Time,
we have seen that.
Our government hospital changed the entirely.
And the same persons, I won't say they are not working or working inefficiently, but their efficiency increased multiple times during COVID, because I believe the model has changed.
Yeah.
Then third one is the supportive model, which is preferred by most of the corporates. Leadership supports employee job performance. Emphasis is given on motivation and support. Like we see many organizations have a system of employee of the month, or employee of the year, or employee of the trimester, or the quarter, like that. They want the employee to feel empowered, that the organization knows that I have contributed something. What are the pros and cons? It enhances job satisfaction but requires skilled managers to operate. So you need to invest on managers. I think there is some marking mistake. This should have been 4. Collegial model. Partnerships between management and staff, which emphasizes teamwork and share responsibility. Most of the organization, I have not seen many organizations in healthcare in India, but this seems to be more like a Western concept, and certain organizations which are working in India, but they are based in other countries, Western countries, they follow this model. There is no defined hierarchy. I mean, the best part I like is you can call your boss by your name without calling them by sir or ma'am. That is just a small example. It promotes self-discipline but may not suit hierarchical cultures. The kind of employees you are dealing with, they should also understand that this liberty has been given for the benefit of the organization. You cannot take undue advantage of this situation, that if the boss is sitting with you and just chit-chatting with you in informal way, so that should not dilute the overall structure of the organization.
Maybe not exactly this kind of, but to some extent our this in the village, small village committee like Panchayat model, they are also not very much in a hierarchy level, but
yes, but something like this they are following.
But they all listen to each other, they sit together, and they are all involved in the decision making process.
Yes,
and they are bound to implement those decisions also, because next time also they need to come back again. So that kind of incentive is there.
Yes, we have, in fact, the PRI system, Panchayati Raj Institute system, is a very well organized and coordinated system. And sometimes I believe that at higher level also, higher level in the bureaucracy, we should have some inputs from the Panchayati Raj system we have.
Yeah. To some extent, that kind of mechanism.
That kind of mechanism can be an example of collegial model. Then systems model, which is the last one. It focuses on mutual interest and goals, encourages a community-like environment. It gives very high satisfaction, but it is very complex, and in certain cases, it is next to impossible to implement. Okay, so how to manage organizational behavior? First of all, we have to be culturally aware. If we want our culture, our language, our religion, our beliefs to be respected, so we have to reciprocate. And because India has a lot of religions, culture, subcultures, so the role of leaders or role of the managers become even more difficult and complex. Then effective communication, promoting transparency and openness. In this case, I believe the corporate sector, especially IT sector, has done a very good job. Most of the established IT companies and most of the companies which are working overseas, the communication is transparent. You know whom to approach in case of any grievance, and how well your grievance is handled by the top management, and it is at which level. Then employee engagement, involving employees in decision making, that also works wonders. I'll talk about another Hawthorne experiment model in subsequent slides. change management, navigating and leading organizational change effectively. See, as human beings, we have a tendency to always resist change. Any kind of thing which goes away or which deviates from the normal course of action, we would always resist that. Continuous learning, encouraging ongoing development and adaptability. The only key to a successful organization or a successful process is you have to continuously update yourself. Once you have occupied any position or any your organization is well established, you should not rest assured that now everything is done. Now it will work on autopilot mode. You don't know what kind of challenges, like many organizations, many sectors have been completely shut down during COVID, and they have still not recovered from that because they failed to anticipate that what the new situation can be. Another case study about supportive model. A mid-sized company which is facing high turnover of employees with low morale. What the actions were taken? They shifted from autocratic to supportive leadership. They also introduced mentorship programs and open forums. What were the results? They increased employee satisfaction by more than 40%. Productivity improved due to higher engagement. Earlier, the boss was giving orders, the superior was giving orders, and employees were just following blindly. But when it was supportive leadership, everybody started feeling that yes, we are also contributing something.
Sense of ownership.
Sense of ownership, absolutely. Sense of ownership, when it is there with the employees, they would also perform, they would always perform better. Organizations thrive when they align their structures and practices with human behaviors and motivation. Last segment of this session, evolution of organizational behavior. Like I just want everybody to be aware that historically how we transformed to the present state. The classical movement of OB, as per documents, it started in late 19th to early 20th century, and the main reason why it happened was because of industrial revolution, which brought massive changes in production and management. Big organizations, big factories started getting established, lot of people getting employed, thousands of people getting employed in one organization. So there are bound to be certain interpersonal issues, conflicts. So that gave rise to some theories of OB. Famous theorists like Frederick Taylor, Henry Fayol and Max Weber, these are the renowned scientists who worked for formulating the theories which are even relevant today also. Frederick Taylor talked about scientific management, time and motion studies to optimize tasks, and he gave 4 principles to increase the efficiency. Henry Fayol talked about administrative theory, identified 14 principles of management for proper administration. He focused on organizational structure and administrative activities for the first time, that organization should have a proper structure. Then only it can work in synchronization. Max Weber talked about the bureaucratic management, which is being followed by many organizations even today. He introduced bureaucracy as a formal system, emphasized clear hierarchy and rules. Then after that, the social man theory. The focus at the beginning of industrial revolution, the focus was to earn profits. But then the social man theory talked about transition from economic man to social man, that man or human beings are social animals. They cannot survive in isolation. Recognizing that workers have social needs beyond monetary compensation also. Just because you are paying your employees sufficient, that may not ensure motivation. Certain key concepts like importance of group dynamics and social interactions. When more than one persons are working, they are bound to have certain conflicts, certain dynamics, certain social interactions which may be positive or negative. Workers are motivated by social acceptance and belonging more than monetary benefits. Certain influential studies which are even relevant today and given, the example is even given today, Elton Mayo's Hawthorne studies, in which he had conducted this experiment in an electric company, I think Western Electric Company, in which certain employees were segregated from the workforce and they were put under better illuminated workspace. And those employed perform many times better than as compared to their previous assigned workstations. So initially, Elton Mayo thought that it was because of better lighting and better conditions provided. But later on, after analysis, he found out that the employees performed better because they were so motivated that among this whole group, we are the selected ones. The organization has realized our potential and they expect us to perform better.
They were well motivated.
They were motivated because the organization realized the potential that out of 100 people, we 2 or 3 persons have been given specific importance. Now it is our responsibility to perform better. And this is famously known as Hawthorne effect. This laid the groundwork for human relations movement. Then in 1930s to 1950s, the focus was to apply behavioral science to understand employee behavior. The famous was Maslow's need hierarchy, the 5 stages, which talks from the physical security to self-actualization. Then Douglas McGregor's famous Theory X and Theory Y. Theory X stated that start with an assumption that all your employees are lazy and they are inefficient. It means that they need to be monitored very strictly. But on the other hand, Theory Y stated that you have to believe that all your employees are honest and hardworking, and you don't supervise them so strictly. Let them be self-disciplined. Theory X assumes employees are lazy, and the Theory Y assumes employees are self-motivated and seek responsibility rather than continuous monitoring. The significance was it shifted focus to psychological factors which influence behavior. It encouraged participative management and motivation enhancement. See, it is true in all the organization, even in families also. If you strictly monitor somebody and the person sees that I am being watched every time, there are chances that the productivity will definitely decrease. Then the human relation management, the emergence was the building on the findings of Hawthorne studies, how employees can stay motivated. The core beliefs were employee satisfaction leads to higher productivity, it was proven. Importance of interpersonal relationship and communication is extremely important for success of any organization. Then the neo-human relations, most of these theories which we are following today. The incorporation of advanced psychological theories applying scientific psychological techniques of analysis and job satisfaction. There was a two-factor theory given by Mr. Herzberg. One is the hygiene factors, that you have to provide people with the basic necessities, bare minimum necessities, to prevent dissatisfaction. On the other hand, you also have to provide certain motivators so that they perform better. So one thing is to ensure that they don't remain dissatisfied, and second thing is to ensure that they stay motivated and satisfied. And there is a name of few more scientists, Chris Argyris, Edgar Sheen and B.F. Skinner, who contributed by understanding of organizational culture, change and development, and certain contemporary perspectives which we have already talked at the beginning of this session, and certain emerging trends like positive organizational behavior. You have to believe in your employees, then only they'll believe in your philosophy. Technology and OB, if your organization is investing a lot in technology, then your employees should also be well versed with that. And because this is we are living in a global world, so managing cross-cultural differences is the responsibility of a leader. So with final thoughts, the evolution of OB reminds us that organizations thrive when they balance both structure and humanity. So just because you are dealing in a particular company, you are making semiconductors, you are making automobiles, should not make you the machines. You should also have sensitivity towards human values. So,
I think, sir, thank you very much for giving such a very elaborate discussions about this organizational behavior, which is one kind of complex by its own. But one thing is very common, I think, that we need to understand that any institutions, a constant human interactions, transparent in nature, and the mutual respect within the employee and the leadership is the key instrument for the functioning much more efficient way. Otherwise, if the rule somebody in many organizations, it is found that some kind of rule is applied to me and some kind of rule is applied to other persons. So that kind of situation, people are obviously get demotivated. So a transparent rule and a transparent communication, clear cut, and the constant communications and training are the basic key
and to add to this, the same principles are there in the Constitution of India also, so that we have to treat each and every Indian as equal without any discrimination on the basis of caste, creed, gender, religion, language, anything. So we just have to adopt what is already said in our Constitution.
adopt and practice.
And practice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much,
you,
Dr. Bhupinder, for coming and giving us this talk, and we sincerely thanks to our students also who are viewing us, and thanks to the team of EMPC who is helping us to broadcast this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Namaskar.